Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 8, and of course this is the final episode of the season. We will get a Season 3, Season 4. Hopefully people start watching the show so we can get a Season 4, because in my opinion, this is under the new era of Marvel Television, under the MCU, under Kevin Feige. This is the best Marvel show. This is the best Marvel show. Okay? It's better than WandaVision. It's better than America all along. It's better than Loki. It's better than Falcon Winter Soldier, Hawkeye. It's definitely better than like Echo or Secret Invasion. That's for fucking sure. But like, this is the best show. So it kind of sucks that like people are not watching it. Wait, it sucks. But apparently people didn't watch the Netflix show. 50% drop off between season 1 and season 2 of the original show. So, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those situations where, like, the hardcore fan base is like who are deep into Marvel or deep into the comic book stuff. And they're like, yeah, that was awesome. And then the general public is like, so he's fine. Okay, I don't understand the big deal of it. Maybe it's that kind of situation going on. But, how is this final episode? How is it? It is awesome. It is a solid, great ending to the season. Because what you have is like these two ends, right? So we got one half, which is the courtroom drama, right? Where you have pretty much, by the spoiler alert of the final episode, spoiler how this episode ends, this feels like this is the final courtroom scene that we'll get from Matt Murdock. And this, for the final courtroom scene, this is great. Because what you get is this kind of like this weird battle of the wits. You're having a sense of, like, because he has Wilson Fisk, he has the Kingpin, who he knows, like, both of them know what the both of them are capable of, understand, and Matt is trying to milk the evidence out. Matt is basically trying to out him without revealing that he's Daredevil. And it's a new way to show them two facing off. It's a way for them, it is a way for us to see them kind of facing off in public without throwing a single fist. Now, of course, at the very end, he reveals that, Matt says, hey, I'm Daredevil. And which I was like, look, it's the MCU, secret identities are not a thing. Some point, Matt was going to reveal that he was going to be dead, or it was going to get out there, right? So, I was like, not much of a shock with that. I mean, I get it for a lot of people. It's like, whoa! I'm like, it's the MCU. At some point, it's going to happen. Some point. Like, everyone knew Tony Stark was Iron Man. Everybody knew in the MCU. Everybody knew that Steve Rogers was Captain America, and Tessa Romanoff was Black Widow, and that Bruce Banner was the Hulk, and so on and so forth. So it's not that far-fetched. Now, what's interesting was the deposition saying, what, you're going to have us, are you going to let the court believe that a blind man could be dead? I'm like, dude, you live in a world where Norse gods are a thing. You live in a world where guys turn to massive green people, massive waves monsters. You live in a world where a purple dude with a nut sack did this, and half of the planet die from existence. You live in a world where soldiers can go into ice and wake up 70 years later, and it's like, Captain America, like, is it not that far-fetched that maybe there is a blind guy? I guess the idea behind it is simply this. Even though you live in a world where that stuff happens, you want something that is essential with normalcy. Like, even though even though you live in a crazy world where all this stuff happens, you do not want You want something like, yeah, blind people can't be vigilantes and do all this kind of stuff. That's not realistic. Even though you live in this world, it could be that whole chestnut things. But the whole courtroom was great. Like I'm a sucker of a good courtroom drama. I get it's not everyone's thing, even though it's a Daredevil show and Daredevil's a lawyer, so it's gonna be a thing. Yeah, I have to understand that. And it's just I'm like, this is good writing on the courtroom side of things. Now, the other end of it is the rebellion side of things. You may say the devil's reign of things, where New York is like, enough is enough, Kingpin. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We are done with your bullshit, and we gotta march. And you have done these terrible things, and we're going to march to the courthouse, and we'll have a rebellion. We're gonna have a protest against you. And what you have is a sense of conclusion. It feels a sense of things lining up, a sense of this feels like a natural step to that evolution, and also seeing Kingpin basically being the entitled parent who's like, I done this to you, I did this, I care for you, and this is how you pay me, then so be it. Because he's not backing down, he's not resigning. That's his plan. He's not resigning. His plan is to just, he's like, I'm not gonna be the mayor. I'm just gonna be Kingpin and just murder, or at least badly damage these people that he's meant to protect, these civilians. It's probably every time he threw a punch, or any time he crushed a head or something, or murdered them, or badly, he's probably saying in his head, you're entitled little shits. That's probably what it is in his head. Meanwhile, you have this this parallel fight scene where Jessica Jones and Daredevil are fighting the task force one more time. So yes, you have this underdog rising to the top and staying up for corruption, but in a way, this is kind of leading to the question of the conflict between that start way back in the original series, but way back in season 1, the conflict between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock. How is it going to end? And well, the show's called Daredevil, so Kingpin ain't gonna kill Matt, and Matt's Catholic, and the whole shall not kill thing is really into his head. So he's not going to kill Kingpin. So how's it going to end? Both of them are like, we're both done. We just you go one way, we go another, and we'll just leave things be. You go retire, and here's the thing about Kingpin retiring is he was meant to retire with Vanessa. This is a man who's alone. This is probably what he was before he met Vanessa. He was alone. He is broken. He's it's kind of like that speech that Matt does way in the original series back in season 3, where it's like, you're no good, Vanessa, and I beat you. Kind of true. It's kind of true, but in the parallel of it is, at the same time, Fisk defeats Matt. Because how does this show end? How does this episode end? Matt's in prison. Matt's in jail. Yeah. And it's a whole it kind of boils onto character. And And that's the rebellion aspect of things. Like, as much as there's a lot of action, even though there's a lot of, Kingpin slaughtering people and Jessica and Matt beating the crap out of the task force, and seeing New York Rebellion, it's all onto character. It's all sense of story and character and motivation in that situation. Now, the only criticism I have is, like, I wouldn't mind have Jessica speak more than 3 words. More than a sentence every time she speaks. I wouldn't mind she actually, I don't know, says more than just say, says more than just, I don't know, oh, there's more. I wouldn't mind giving her actual, like, I don't know, dialogue, like actual meaty scenes. I wouldn't mind seeing Jessica Jones having those. Maybe there'll be more. Maybe there will be some those kind of big, long dialogue scenes in the next season, knowing Luke Cage shows up at the very end. And that, so it's yeah, and that Charles, Matthew Lillard's character, I was like, what's the point of this character? What's the point of him? Maybe he's more like, introduce him in season 2, so season 3 he has a bigger role. Maybe there's more of a planned situation going on here. But yeah, there's a couple things in this episode, or in the season as a whole, that I kind of wish they kind of did a little bit more. But Aya's investigations are back on track. So maybe they're hinting that they might be doing a Jessica Jones revival. Maybe that's what they should call it. Should they just call it Jessica Jones, or should they call it Aya's investigations? You know what? I'll probably do that. Unless people thinking, if for the general public, if you put AS, people think it's the Jenna Garden Spy Show. Maybe. I don't know. If you just call it the title of, of the damn original comics. But anyway. But yeah. Anything else about the episode? Oh yeah, Luke Cage just showing up at the end. I was like, hey, and knowing that he's gonna be in season 3, that's cool. Heather is now Muse, which is not that surprising if you saw some paparazzi shots, and it's clearly that they were leading to that path of her becoming Muse, and that. But it's not over. Next week, I mean, Daredevil it's ending, but we got a little of an epilogue, because next week we got the episode. We got a Punisher one-shot episode of Punisher One Last Kill. So next week we'll get the Matt. What were you doing when this was happening? Or as I like to call it, how we get a very mature Punisher in your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man movie. That's why I want to. Maybe that's what the one-shot episode will be about. Never know. Anyway, comment below. Let me know your thoughts of this episode.